Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. And finally, as I have been promising you for weeks and weeks and weeks, I have come to visit with my friend Sassy Wyatt.
Hello, it's so lovely to be here.
Sassy is a blind travel writer and accessibility consultant. She runs her own business, she's an entrepreneur, and she has won Diversity Champion of the Year last year and Travel Writer of the Year as well. So she is a bit more qualified than we normally have on this channel. But mostly I've come here to talk to Sassy today about her brand new book. I will hold it up so you can all see. Actually, probably should be you holding that up so everyone can see. So, first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the book actually is?
Okay, so the Smart Marketer's Guide to Digital Accessibility is, I would love to say, a resource for just about anyone that uses the internet. I really believe that it's a practical resource for marketers, for people in PR, for content creators, for brands and businesses, and for anyone, as I said, using the internet, because accessibility is everybody's responsibility.
The book is actually called The Smart Marketer's Guide to Digital Accessibility, but like you just touched on then, it isn't just for sort of people who do digital marketing as their job.
Mm-hmm.
I found, sort of as a tiny little content creator myself, a lot of the things in the book that you've written are really, really useful, really, really simply worded. I love that you've got just checklists of what I need to do on each social media to be able to make that post accessible.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really like that that's not all that it is.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel that it's an accessible resource for anybody in digital marketing, as I said, whether you create content yourself or whether you are a brand or an agency. And for me, I just feel that it was needed. My clients asked for it after I was giving keynotes and seminars, and people are always asking me the same things. Filled with actionable steps, clear checklists. It has my own lived experience as a blind woman, how I use the internet as a blind woman, and how you can make your content accessible. And for me, it came from the fact that my clients were asking for a literal resource that they could handle, because I like to talk and my keynotes and my seminars are very long and very in-depth.
And that is what makes it so interesting as well. I love that you've got the checklists in there that help me sort of just tick, 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 done the thing, made it accessible.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love that you've got those lived experiences in there, because it's not just your own either, is it? You've spoken to a few people. And it really sort of brought it to life for me, to be honest, because up until looking at this book and meeting you and speaking with you, I maybe would have thought, well, is a blind person going to use Instagram? It's actually one of the places that you're most active, isn't it?
It is.
And so, like, hearing about how you use the internet and what the different barriers for you are in that has actually made it a lot less sort of dull, dry content and a lot more, this actually fits to somebody that I know and care about and matters to an actual person.
Yeah.
And I really love that you've got those sort of interviews and experiences in there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was really, really fortunate that lots of people gave me their time and their energy when I was building these case studies. So it has brands as big as Kellogg's and all the way down to tourism boards that I've worked with and how they've made their content accessible. So the case studies are a real life example of how people have implemented accessibility in a really meaningful way, and it brings it back to that humanistic perspective, as you said, because I feel that people are understandably confused. How does a blind person use the internet? How does a blind person, or why would a blind person want to use Instagram? And the reality is we're still people.
Yeah.
We want to use it, and there are ways, there's tools that you can use as an individual to help make your content accessible to me. And I really believe that it's my mission to make the world a more accessible place, and I strive for that every day. And the digital marketing side is the biggest part of that, because that is where we're leading right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You say that you feel like it's part of your mission to make the world more accessible. I love that. If you don't mind me asking, have you always been blind, or?
That's a good question. That's a question people ask me all the time. So no, I was not born with any disabilities. I broke my arm at the age of 7 because I jumped off a swing in midair thinking I could fly.
As we all do.
Yeah, me and my friends, I was a total tomboy, used to climb trees, jumped off swings, and I actually did win. That was the best part. I won the bet of a 7-year-old beating another 7-year-old.
Which is what matters, really.
It really does. But in the instance of round 3, where I came off too high and landed too hard, there was a big old snap in my elbow and TMI, and essentially, yeah, I broke my arm, and that became the catalyst of arthritis. We didn't realise that at the time, but after about 14 months of investigations, medical, all the good stuff around the medical side of it, we then realised that arthritis was an autoimmune condition that can attack any part of the body. So by the time I was 14, I started to have vision problems, and I was fully sighted, let's say up until 15, 16 years old. So I know the beauty of colours, of what pores look like. I know all the prettiness and the ugliness.
You used the internet before you lost your sight?
Yes. Yeah. So I used the internet because I'm a millennial. So yeah. I grew up on the internet. But what I will say is the things that are in this book didn't even exist 5, 10, 15 years ago. So it's because technology is advancing so quickly that these things were able to be implemented. I look back at my old, say, Facebook posts, and I didn't write alt text on my own Facebook post because I didn't realise that A, that you should, and B, that now that there's a place to do it. Because I had friends who were blind from birth, and they use screen reading technology, they use Facebook, but they never actually said to me, Sassy, your content isn't accessible to me. Yeah, so I never thought. So I don't blame people.
If you always have to be saying, can you please open the door for me? Can you please let me in? Can you please? It must get very exhausting to have to keep saying to people, your content isn't accessible to me. So I would imagine that now, if you go into a website that is inaccessible, or online store or something like that, you're not going to message the person and say your website isn't accessible. You're just going to leave and take your money elsewhere, somewhere that is.
Exactly, and that is what the disability community do. Is we walk away. Over 70% of us will walk away from a physical store or a digital store if your content isn't accessible. So you're losing out on money.
Yeah, and actually, until I saw your book, I had no idea how much money that is, because the disabled community, did you call it the Purple Pound?
Yes, the Purple Pound in the UK.
It's actually massive.
Yeah, absolutely ginormous. People are leaving £2.2 billion on the table every month in the UK market already.
Yeah.
Just
so if you don't care about including people, at least care about your profits.
Exactly. And the global spending power of the disabled economy is worth $13 trillion.
Wow.
And that goes up every year.
Wow.
So you imagine that me as a blind person, I do solo travel and I do go to places on my own, but 9 times out of 10, I'll go with my husband, I'll go with my friends, I'll go with my family. So you think, I'm not just one person, I'm 2 people, I'm 3 people, I'm 5 people. And think how much money we're spending if your place is accessible, if your content's accessible.
And of course, once you become known as a venue that is accessible, then you're going to just get more customers as well, because, we all have friends.
Exactly. And disability, the community in the disability community is like literally the most solid community there is. We are so loyal, it's unreal. If something's accessible to us, we'll go back again and again and again.
And tell everyone.
Yeah.
Talking about accessibility now, you've taken quite a lot of steps to make the actual book accessible, even though you're mostly aimed at people who are sort of able to see or whatever. You've tried to make this book as accessible as you possibly can. So this is quite large print, not the largest of large. 16-point font, to make it more large print. It's available on e-readers, so you can change the font size and listen to it on a screen reader. But I'm interested in this code on the front that looks like a colourful QR code.
Yes, so that is absolutely phenomenal. That is a NaviLens code. A NaviLens was built for blind and visually impaired people to have access to technology, to signage, to wayfinding. And the incredible thing about NaviLens is anyone can download the app. So you have a mobile phone that has the internet. You can download this mobile app for free. And if there's a NaviLens code on it, you can scan it and it can give you information. So I've inputted all the information I want about my book. So if you do it, then you will be able to have an alt text and audio description of what my book actually looks like, and then the contents of the book and what's on the blurb. So NaviLens allows blind and visually impaired people to have access to digital the way that a sighted person will. But what is the best thing I love about NaviLens is that I could go into a store in Japan, I could pick up my own book, and even though I don't read Japanese, my phone will translate it into English, and your phone, if you're Japanese, will translate it into Japanese.
That is so cool. We are absolutely living in the future with that sort of thing. And I do think that things do seem to be progressing in terms of making more and more places and things accessible, especially sort of online. I helped Sassy to format this book because it's not a very accessible process, and 24 hours before it went live she called me up saying, don't get cross with me. Because TikTok had actually made a massive leap forward in their accessibility, and would kind of said that they were quite inaccessible in the book, so you had to sort of scramble to update that. Isn't that a fantastic thing that they've all of a sudden gone, oh, just before this new law comes out, we can all of a sudden make everything accessible. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that law as well, because you know more about it than I do?
Yeah, sure. So it's called the European Accessibility Act, and it officially came into force on the 28th of June 2025, and it is there for anyone who sells or buys within Europe, whether it's digital or physical products, how to make the digital experience accessible to everybody. So you think of anything from like an airport kiosk all the way through to a website, that's all digital technology. And all of this now is there to be made fully accessible, and you have to follow the rules and the guidelines. And people are actually doing it now, because it is sad to say, but if you have enforcement there, then you will get more support in the terms of accessibility and disability inclusion. But as we were talking about a second ago, TikTok, literally 24 hours before the book launched, I was scouring and making sure that everything I was saying in the book was up to date, and I came across that TikTok has finally made their carousels have alt text, which means you as a person on TikTok adding pictures can now add photo descriptions via the alt text button. And that is the best thing, because they were, you know, a very big popular app, and they still are, but they have finally added context and accessibility to things that they should have done a long time ago. But they are doing it now, and it's great.
Yeah, they're such a sort of industry leader. They kind of came out of nowhere and became the social media for the younger people. They really should be leading in the accessibility as well. So it's great that they've finally sort of caught up a little bit with that.
I think my biggest ask actually is for the brands, the platforms that we're on, they can't just embed accessibility and not tell people about it. I almost don't want it to feel like you're being forced, but I think back to when I was a child and told, you know, I had to eat all my vegetables, for example, because otherwise I wouldn't get a pudding. And I sort of feel like that should be the way with social media, as in, you're not allowed to push your content until you've made it fully accessible to blind people, to deaf people, to people with cognitive disabilities. And those are very easy fixes.
Yeah, and it wouldn't hurt for a pop-up to come up when you press post to say, have you done this, this and this, to make it more inclusive for people. I feel like it's a bit like seatbelts, in that nowadays it would be unthinkable to get in your car and not put your seatbelt on. But when I was a child, that law was just coming in, and it had to be made law, and people were very angry about their right to die in car crashes. And now we just look back and think, what? And hopefully that's going to be the way it's going to be for accessibility going forward, in digital spaces especially.
I really, really hope so. And I think it has to be a balance of those who have the power to implement it, but also if you have the government backing or
Yes,
industry
yes.
leaders backing, then of course it's going to get done a lot quicker.
We have pretty much established that almost everybody could do with reading your book, especially with the little checklists. I actually have a copy of this because I'm spoiled, and so it lives on my desk, and I do look through it before I post things for myself and for my clients, just to make sure that I have ticked all those boxes, made it as accessible as possible for as many people as possible.
Mhm.
And I actually think that everyone should have a copy of this. But if people wanted to get it, where would they get it from?
Oh, well, you can get it pretty much anywhere that you buy books. So you can get it online from Amazon, Apple, all the good places.
What I will do is I will put a universal book link in the description so that people can go to whichever retailer makes the most sense for them, because I think you've got Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, you've got all of the big booksellers, and so if we put a universal link in there, you guys can just find the one that you normally buy your books from.
Yes.
And I think that it's also available to be ordered in the library as well, if people wanted to do that.
It is, yes. So that was a big part of the accessibility drive for me, is I know that not everybody can afford things. So I wanted to make this book accessible to everybody, so you can get it in local libraries, you can get it at Barnes & Noble, online, offline, and an exciting piece of information live just for you. It is going to become an audiobook.
Oh, that's so
Yay!
exciting. I didn't actually know that one either,
Yay.
so I'm
So-
looking forward to that.
I can't wait.
When we're off camera, I'm going to ask you about who's voicing it, because I think I know. Well, thank you so much for finally coming on and talking to me. I have been saying to you guys for weeks and weeks that I was going to speak to Sassy, and it was the disastrous saga that is my car that has stopped us coming so far. But I'm so glad that we've finally got around to it. And I'm sure if you guys leave sort of any questions that you've got in the comments, I can pass them on to Sassy, and if there's enough of them, we'll probably do another video or something.
That would be lovely. I just want to say how incredible V is, okay?
Aww.
Because this book would not have been made possible without her and the team that rallied around me. Her own daughter, Chloe, created this amazing
It is
digital
super
art.
cute. And she is available for commissions, just
She
saying.
is.
I'll put her links as
Yeah.
well.
We've got V that helped completely format it, and then we have the beautiful Miranda that also basically helped from start to finish.
She did most of it.
Did the majority of putting this book together to make it a real thing, a tangible thing that anyone can read and buy. So I want to say thank you, because without you, without the team that surrounded me during this time, it would still be in the ether, not doing anything. And the front...
I mean, to be fair, your husband did curse it by calling it the Cursed Book of Doom, and then therefore it was completely cursed and everything went wrong that could go wrong, including things I didn't know could go wrong.
Yes,
it was a challenge.
It really was a challenge, and I have been essentially writing this book for 4 years, and I had gone through many different iterations and stages, and as we said earlier, 24 hours before, I even made extra edits because the landscape of technology changes so quickly,
Yeah.
but also it's just not accessible. As a blind person who is a screen reader user, all of these platforms to upload a book, to edit it, to format a book is not accessible, and it would not have been possible without you guys. And genuinely, I feel so privileged to have known you, for us to work together. He's also my video editor, by the way, so you see any of my videos.
I haven't told you guys that either.
she's also doing my content, she's the best. So yeah, it really is around having that support, because my husband did help, but he's no good at books, and of course we know that V herself is also an author. So
this was a challenging project, especially for somebody that had never sort of done any publishing before. So Grant did try, bless him. Yeah, the checklist, the bullet points, and all that sort of thing were a challenge.
And to make them accessible as well. That was the other thing, wasn't it?
Because your screen reader kept just not reading them as buttons at all. And so that's another thing that has been an extra layer of challenge, actually, is making sure that anything that we're sending you to check is actually coming out the way it's supposed to for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, like with the emojis that are telling you I'm laughing with tears of joy when I'm like, I'm actually about to have a nervous breakdown. Tears of joy. But it was a great fun challenge, and I had a wonderful time doing it with you. and would gladly help you do it again.
Oh,
but
thank
not
you.
too soon, so if everybody could just chill out on the acceleration of accessibility just a little bit.
Yeah, because the 2.0 doesn't need to come out next month, okay?
Yeah.
We've only just launched this one.
So I will pop the links to this in the description for you. I will also pop a link to where you can follow Sassy on social media. You can get to see her do cool things like drive a McLaren around Formula One track and also use NaviLens codes to navigate around supermarkets and show you how easy it is to cross the road as a blind person, and all of the other sort of stuff that you would really quite like to ask a blind person but are a bit too shy to. Sassy has got you covered on all of her socials, so I'll link them as well.
Thank you. And also, I am a very open book, so feel free to direct message me or leave comments on my own content about things you'd like to see if I haven't already answered it, because I think the world needs educating, and I do get a lot of support and a lot of help, but also I'm extremely independent and I'm very, very loud and opinionated, so I can always share my opinions with you.
This is why we're friends. Just before I do go though, I have to say this painting behind us is absolutely gorgeous. In fact, I'm going to change my camera angle ever so slightly so people can see it better, and just tilt backwards for a second. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? And the person that painted that is actually the person that is on the front cover of the book as well with you.
Yes.
Your friend Lenny.
That's correct.
Am I right in thinking that he's also blind?
He is.
And look at how amazing that is.
He's an absolutely phenomenal artist. The painting behind me is a landscape picture of a sunset, and done in paint and in very bold, very bright colours, because the sunset is my most favourite memory I have of all colours, and I see it as part of my branding. And so Lenny created this painting for me, and as a blind woman who also loves to support disabled entrepreneurs, disabled artists, creatives, it was a big part of who I wanted to be when I created my own content.
Yeah.
And actually, it's the same with the people that I've worked with in the past, and especially this year. It really is about making sure that you hire individuals with disabilities, because we're so clever, we're so creative, we think outside of the box, and it makes your life more interesting because of that.
And you've got so much training in being able to overcome challenges as
Yes.
well. So.
Yeah, but so Lenny has, to give you a little bit of context, about 5% vision, which is really hard to comprehend if you've had full vision your whole life. But essentially, he can only see light, colour, shape and shadow. So for someone to only be able to see those things, and not in absolute detail either.
Yeah, that is
to
amazing.
To create that.
Because as you guys know, if you watch me regularly, I do dabble in a little bit of painting, and I'm pretty sure this is acrylic paint as well, which is what I use. And the water that this guy has done is so much better than anything I could have done, and can't see what he's doing. Yeah, no, that's just so gorgeous that I wanted to have a mention of it, especially because Lenny is featured on the cover of the book, along with Sassy and Ida the Guider.
Ida!
Oh,
there we go.
Hello, Ida. Aren't you lovely?
This is the first and only time she'll ever be allowed on this.
You're only allowed today because it's a special occasion.
Yes.
But yeah, so Ida has been a big part of your independence, obviously, and so it was really important to you to feature her on the cover as well.
Yes.
And I think now you guys can see Ida. I think you'll be able to agree that my daughter, who did the cover art, did a fantastic job of that.
Absolutely smashed it. Thank you, Chloe. Couldn't have done it better myself. And I'm no artist and I can't see, but Chloe is beyond phenomenal about how perfect she got all of us in a cartoon style.
Yeah, I love the cartoon style. Thank you for
Yeah,
that, Ida.
thank
You
you.
performed very, very well, and you're like, oh, I get to lay up here now. That's what I've started to do a lot of
I
naughtiness
really,
for you
really
now,
hope
haven't I?
she doesn't.
Join me on Monday, 6 a.m. UK time for my next vlog. As usual, I've absolutely no idea what I'm talking about next week. I might take you to the seaside if you're very good. But if you can't wait until then to see me again, I will be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for, or what's challenging me that day, because recently I have been moody. And I will also be here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card read for you as well. Until then, you have yourself a magical week.